there's philosophies to it, but understanding how it works for you is going to be different for every medium. So we all receive these sort of impressions and awarenesses about what spirit's greatest need is. And as we blend with them, we become more and more aware of that part of their life they want to talk about. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast, where practical spirituality meets real life. Hi, I'm your host, Sheetal Story. I'm a psychic medium, grief support counselor, professional astrologer, and a human design reader, and of course, a law of attraction master coach. With my unique blend of spiritual and practical tools, I am here to help you align with your soul-led purpose and ignite a life that sets your soul on fire. In this podcast, we are going to explore the principles of energy, astrology, spirituality, and psychology to help you heal your grief and create an aligned life and business from the inside out. Whether you are looking to deepen your intuition, understand your cosmic design, or transform your business, this podcast is for you. Join me each week for insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories that will guide you on your journey to living your very best life. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Sheetal Story or wherever you listen to this podcast. Let's dive in and start this transformative journey together. Welcome to the Story of Spirit podcast. I talk to the dead, and here's what actually happens. This is the episode for today. And this episode was actually inspired by a reading that I had this week with a client. And she gave me permission to share the details of her session today because it really highlights the intelligence and the love of the spirit world and how our loved ones, as they take their last breath, they're not just on to the next life. They're not just gone. They're still connected to us. They're still living our lives with us, just in the world of energy. And it is such a profound thing to know and to live with in your lifetime, because you know that there's more to life than now. It isn't like purgatory or pay the piper, or you have to do something to graduate to heaven. That is not a thing. That's actually created by religion. Everyone transitions to the spirit world. Yes, even horrible people. But we all go to where our vibration is going to take us. So if you lived life in a very low vibrational place where you didn't understand that you are love, that you have love around you, that you have purpose and meaning to your life, and you forgot about your light. You lived in a very depressed state. You didn't understand that there is another world after this one, or you didn't feel worthy or deserving of it. Now you're going to enter into spirit in a very lower vibrational place than if you were giving love, receiving love, being in purpose, being a good person, enjoying nature and the beauty that surrounds you, and understanding that you are nature. And if you're very spiritual and you understand that there is consciousness and love and energy in this world that we live in, and that you are more than just your body and your job and taxes, you are going to then enter into the spirit world in a higher vibrational place. And that is where we have these different experiences of the other side. So everyone transitions to the other world. It is not, there's no heaven or hell. There is just consciousness, and how we create our lives, what we believe about ourselves, how much we understand of ourselves creates then the next iteration of our life. So we are just in a transitory state. This life here in the physical world, we are only here for a blip of time. There is a part of you, this soul essence of you, that will transition to the next stage of life, and it is everlasting. There is no death of the soul. You continue on, and you will continue to shine up facets of your soul in every lifetime. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. I'm not here to convince you of anything, but you will find out as soon as you take your last breath. Just like gravity exists, so does this. And mediumship shows the nature of the soul to be everlasting. Now, science is trying to prove the weight of the soul, which I think is fascinating. Because if it has weight, if it has mass, then it exists in science, whatever, right? Everything in science was once woo, right? That's why I love talking to people who are skeptics, because I'm just like, tell me about gravity. Tell me about the earth being round. Tell me about our solar system. There were times in our lineage, in our history, that people thought that wasn't true. There are still people on this planet that think none of those things are true. So really, I guess the truth is your perception of it. And science, is always changing in itself. So science is not the definitive, answer of what is truth. It's actually about what you experience. What you experience, you believe that to be true. Saw this during COVID, right? When no one I knew had COVID yet. It was still this thing that you saw on the news, and people were in hospitals and people were dying, and you're like, but are they? Is it happening? Really, like, there was a lot of fear, and there was a part of me that's like, but I don't actually know, anyone that has it. And you can think back to your relationship to COVID. Is like, did you ever know anybody? What was the first time when you went, whoa, this is real? And the first time that, whoa, this is real for me was when I caught COVID in September of 2020. We were not supposed to be gathering, and we were gathering. And we gathered in a retreat. There was about 20 of us, I think 18 to 20 of us, and we all took tests before we went in. But of course, the test took time to come back. So somewhere along the way, somebody brought COVID into the group. And when we came home, I felt not right. My glands were all swollen, and I was like, uh-oh. And it was around the time of my birthday, which is September. And so interesting. So many things happened for me in September. That's part of my chart. But I tested positive, and 9 out of the 18 of us tested positive after that. I was the first one to test positive, and then I said, I think everyone should go get tested. And then sure enough, there was a lot of asymptomatic people. And that was a wild ride, my friends. I got the full blown experience of COVID. I couldn't smell anything. I couldn't taste anything. All I smelled was this kind of oddly sweet smell all the time. I had a lot of sinus stuffiness, but no congestion. There was no mucus or anything. It was just stuffy. I had my glands were swollen. I had no coughing. And coughing came later, and I am asthmatic. So I was really worried about that, because there was a lot of talk of, if you had pre existing symptoms or pre existing condition, you could be at risk for death, to die. And I was like, this sucks. So it was really rough, actually. I couldn't string together a sentence. The fogginess was the hardest thing. I couldn't string together a sentence. It was really hard. If I was talking or teaching, I was teaching a class at that time because it was busy, y'all. And when I was in purpose, when I am in my soul self, I was teaching intuition classes, mediumship classes, soul purpose classes. I was teaching all over the place. And then I would turn off the computer and I would sleep for 2 hours. And so anytime I would do anything, I'd have to sleep for 2 hours. I slept a lot. My body was trying to heal. And it's to do with your nervous system, right? So it was wild. And so I was the first person in in all of my groups, actually, to be the one to have COVID. And I shared and shared and shared. And it was interesting because I had so many conversations like, but is it real? I was like, this is like nothing else I've ever had. I have had the flu. I have had chicken pox. I have had, I haven't had any like really major big things, but I've had all those things. And I had the flu. I thought I was dying. I had to go get x-rayed for pneumonia because I was having a hard time breathing. Everything hurt. I was throwing up. It was awful. I literally felt I was dying for like a week. And so the flu is no joke. Like true flu, influenza is terrible, terrible. I see why people die from it, but this was so weird. Like it was really like I was living in this weird place, and I felt terrible. Like I didn't feel like myself. I felt terrible. I had to live in this future time when I knew I would be over it. And that's how I got myself through it. I had to isolate as well. And then I gave it to my youngest. So we had to isolate together. Oh, it was awful. And in that moment, I got to share with everyone what it was like. And people were DMing me and talking to me. And then the people within our group, this was one of the benefits of me getting it with other people, is that we got to support support each other, that we were checking in on each other and how are you doing? And as the guilt that came with that, the weird things that comes with doing, doing things that you're not supposed to be doing. And it was fascinating because after that point, that's when people went, "Oh, this is real." So I got to share and know that that's real. And I feel like mediumship is very much like that, is that until you have the experience or you believe in it because I don't know, you've had an experience with spirit yourself, or you've been at a reading and it was so accurate and so profound that you felt that it was you changed you, or it gave you comfort in some way, then you will not believe, you will not have that experience. And if you're not open to it, well, I mean, you can still, have your mind blown because it is so fascinating and so wild. You can't Google, I can't Google the things that I'm saying in our sessions. It's fantastic. It is the power of the spirit world. So, today I really wanted to talk about the mechanics of a mediumship reading. What is mediumship? I feel like sometimes people have no idea what that is. And so, mediumship is the connection to our loved ones after they've taken their last breath in spirit. And so we all have the ability to feel our own loved ones in spirit. You have a connection to your loved ones. That's a love bond. You can feel their vibration. You know what they smell like. You know what they feel like. So when they come to visit you, you might feel like your brain is tricking you. You might feel like, no, I was just imagining their picture in their face in my rearview mirror, and you look back and they're gone. Right. Or you smell them and you turn around and you're like, that's weird. Why would I smell her perfume? I don't have this perfume in my house. That's her. That's the person. This is how it happens. But our mind wants to make sense of it. And yet we cannot perceive something that is so outside of our world, right? I saw an analogy when I was first taking up mediumship as I was researching all the things, because that's what I like to do. And it was an analogy of a triangle talking to a sphere. And the triangle lives in the 2D world, and the sphere lives in the 3D world. So the triangle is perceiving the sphere coming through the 2D world. And it first starts out as a little point, and then it comes through and it becomes a larger and larger circle until it hits the diameter of the sphere. And then it goes back down to a little circle. And the triangle is like, whoa, how are you doing that? And the circle is like, I'm not doing anything. The sphere, I'm not doing anything. This is how I am in this world, but you can't see that. And the triangle's like, do it again. It was like a magic trick. And the sphere is like going in and out of the 2D world. And again, it goes from a dot to the diameter of this sphere to then the dot on the other side, because it cannot perceive on a 2D plane the 3D reality of the sphere. And so for us, if you take that analogy and apply it into mediumship, we live in the 3D world physically, right? But actually we live in like a 5D world. There's energy in this world. There's things that we cannot perceive in our five senses, right? We can only see the light spectrum. We can only hear a certain part of the spectrum. Dogs can hear parts of the spectrum that we can't. Right? We don't even have night vision, like how lame is that? Like, I want night vision. So that we don't actually have the senses to perceive everything in this world. And really, the afterlife is just here. It's the world of energy that we cannot perceive. You without a body is very, very high frequency energy. And mediumship really shows that there's proof of life after death. So, if you don't believe me, don't worry. You'll find out, after you take your last breath. I just have had so many experiences and so much, even my own personal experience, and also seeing other people and having wild experiences with spirit, that I was just like, you can't deny that there is more to this world than just the 3D reality that meets the eye. So, mediumship is the connection of a medium. So, someone who is able to connect to other people's loved ones and channel messages and give proof of life after passing. So, not everybody has the ability to be a medium. We all have the ability to feel our own loved ones in spirit. But if you have the ability to feel other people's loved ones in spirit and feel their energy and transmit messages and understand things about their life that you can possibly Google, then you are a medium. And you are born with the ability to be a medium, but it comes to the surface. It becomes latent at the time in your life that you are meant to develop your ability, It just happens when it happens. We don't really have control over that. So most children have the ability to perceive the spirit world because they don't have the ego yet that makes them close that down or think that's not real. So you'll hear a lot of children saying, grandma came to visit last night, or I see this man in our house, and it might freak you out because again, somewhere along the way you were told that's not right. And I mean, our loved ones are here. Grandma does come to visit. I feel our loved ones around us all the time. I can smell my grandmother's perfume. Every time we go through a really hard time with the kids, someone's in the hospital or someone's going through tough things, I will smell my grandmother's perfume. And it actually happens about a week before it happens. So it's wild, and having this ability, I really have to have a very calm nervous system because if I every time I smell her perfume and it brings me unhinged, then what's the point of that gift, right? Like that's not a gift, that's a burden. So I really had to come to the place in my life, well, you know what? What's going to happen is going to happen. And I can't control it. It's inevitable. It's already on its way. But you know what I can do is trust myself and trust the situation that my child is not meant to die at this time. And if they are, I'm going to have to deal with that and come to terms with that because we all have an endpoint on this planet and we don't know when that is. We're all stepping forward each day to our last day on this planet. And you don't know when that is. And you don't have forever. Like don't wait. I keep saying to people, yes, there's magic in timing and don't wait. Like if there's something on your heart that you want to do, go do it. You don't wanna wait till the last breath and think, "Man, I should have done the thing," you know? That is when it really, really, it's too late. It's too late then to do anything about it. So don't have a regret, on your deathbed. Do the thing now. So, mediumship is a connection of our loved ones on the other side by someone who can channel spirit. And the person who is a medium has the ability to channel spirits for other people's loved ones. So, again, not everyone has that ability, but if it's for you, when it comes to the surface, you're going to feel it. You're going to all of a sudden you see spirit. I mean, that's what happened for me, right? My uncle came to me and told me things about my aunt that there's no way I would know anything about that. I talked about that in earlier episodes. Episode 1, I believe I also sort of mentioned that, and another episode on mediumship early on too. We'll put it in the show notes so you can find that really easily. And I started to just like have this ability of knowing things for people and seeing energy again in the world. And I was born with that ability. I had it as a child. I remember it. I closed it off at 9 years old and it started to come back again when I was in my 30s after having my youngest child. So that ability coming back for me, that was then the time that it was meant to be developed. And I understand why for me. It came out at that time because my foundations were set. I married the man of my dreams, amazing husband. Now I had the 2 kids. I only wanted to have 2. That was done and complete. And now it was time to develop my gifts. Because if those gifts had come out any other time in the past, I might not have had all this, right? I probably would be so busy developing my business, I wouldn't want to have another child, perhaps. Or maybe my husband would have been like, wow, you're weird. I don't, I'm not going to be with you. I mean, bless my husband. He did not marry a psychic. I became a psychic and came out with my gifts long after we got married. Bless him. At the time of this recording, we've been together now for 26 years, and so we've evolved together. Lumps, bumps, and all. And he's been such a supporter. I remember when I came out, and I said, babe, I think I see dead people, and he's like, what? And I said, I think I have this ability to see people on the other side and convey messages of love. There's no reason like there's no reason why I would know these things or see these things, and I need to develop it. And he's like, I don't understand this, but what I do know is that you are level-headed and grounded and you go after things that you know are true for you. So I support you. I could have cried in that moment. Like it was so wonderful to be fully supported. And I do recognize that not everyone goes through that. And some people's gifts awaken in traumatic ways, where somebody dies or something traumatic happens in their life, and all of a sudden these abilities start to come in. Or sometimes it just comes in and out of the blue. You're just like, oh, all of a sudden you're walking along and then you're seeing dead people and you're like, what's happening? It's your gift is coming alive at that moment, coming to the surface to be developed because it's the right time in your life now. And if your soul gave you this soul trait, it's a soul quality to be able to channel loved ones, then you have the ability to heal others and heal yourself. You're a healer. And in this healing ability, though, we first have to do it for ourselves. So if you have this ability, then you are on the fast track to personal development. Yay, right? You chose the deluxe soul plan because however our mediumship shows up, we must also develop ourselves into holding that ability for them, learning about grief, learning about how to connect with spirit while trusting ourselves. There's a lot of self trust and faith in this gift, right? It's simple, not easy, or easy, not simple, something like that. It's simple, not easy, is what we say in mediumship because it's really simple. You're just blending with spirit as they're coming in. They're an energy source. They're coming into your auric field as a medium. We are able to perceive them and feel them because we've done the work to clear our minds to understand what is ours and what is not ours. And as they come in to blend with us, we become aware of their greatest need. And then that is what we triggers off in our subconscious and then we express what we are experiencing. So it's a little bit like charades. It's a little bit like you're trying to understand how to put words to an experiencing you're feeling. And when they start to blend with your energy, you start to become aware of every aspect of their life. But your brain cannot compute all of that download so quickly. So it then starts to become aware of one part of their life that has their greatest need that needs to be expressed to their loved one that is sitting in their chair in front of you or is around you somewhere. And as a medium, we need to have very strong boundaries with spirit that we are not an open vessel for reading everywhere we go. Right. I am meant to be a mother in this lifetime. I attend my children's concerts and pick them up from work and school, and I'm around them. I can't be like, excuse me, I have to go give your principal a reading. Like that is so not okay. Right. That is voyeurism. That is not okay. So what I say to spirit and my boundaries with spirit is that you have to bring your loved one to me. Right. You have to either get them to book a reading with me or come up to me and ask me if I'm a medium or start talking to me about you, and that will be my sign from them that it's time to work, that's an invitation. But I always ask as well, I'll say, I'm a psychic medium. I am getting I'm becoming aware of a spirit here. Would it be okay with you if I shared something that I'm becoming aware of? And in my 14 years of reading for spirit, I have only ever had someone say no twice. And I have to honor that no. But I've only had spirit bring people to me. Well, I've had people bring people to me 4 times, but only twice have they said yes. So, and like that's how much I'm out in public a lot. I'm an extrovert. I go out to eat, I travel, I'm in planes, and I never feel bombarded by spirit. Never, because they know my rules. They know my boundaries, right? I'm not an open vessel for reading for spirit all the time. When I'm working, I'm working. But if I'm having a glass of wine or I'm, at a party with somewhere, I'm not just going to be open to reading for spirit because that's not fair. This is my sacred gift. I honor my sacred gift. It has to be in sacred places where I will access that. So, as a psychic medium, we are here to communicate with the spirit world, and we receive information by blending with spirit, and we become aware through our different senses. So sometimes we see things, that's called clairvoyant. Sometimes we just know things, that's clair. Oh my gosh, I had a brain fart there. Claircognizant. And then if we feel it in our body, that's called clairsentient. You're feeling it. Those are the empaths. You can feel like a medical ailment. I have a few medical mediums in my life. I also run a mediumship development circle for mediums, and they're at all different places in the journey, beginners to intermediate to advanced, and you're always being stretched by spirit. So that sentience is when you feel it inside your body. Right. And clairvoyance is the one that we talk about all the time because it's the one that you're seeing pictures, but it's not just seeing pictures. You have to feel what the picture is trying to convey to you too. Just seeing a picture is only like really 20% of the information. You have to feel what's going on inside the picture. So mediumship is simple. There's a lot of mechanics to it, there's philosophies to it, but understanding how it works for you is going to be different for every medium. So we all receive these sort of impressions and awarenesses about what spirit's greatest need is. And as we blend with them, we become more and more aware of that part of their life they want to talk about. So we start to express and start to say, okay, I'm becoming aware that I have a man or a woman here. So it's obviously, you know it's either a man or a woman. And then we become aware of a relationship. So I feel like I have a grandmother stepping forward from spirit, and she feels like she wants to talk about. So we want to make sure that those first few sentences are so clear on who this person is, because we're trying to place them in the recipient's mind, right? We have to use specifics during that time. So one of my pet peeves, and we're going to talk about red flags in mediumship readings so you can become aware of what's a good medium and what's not a good medium. And a red flag in mediumship is vagueness. Absolute vagueness. I have a mother figure stepping forward. Like I am having this experience with a spirit person. I can tell that she's a grandmother. I'm feeling like she's a grandmother, but sometimes it can feel like a grandmother. Where this more gets mixed up is when it feels like a mother, but the person actually is a grandmother, but she raised you. So you lived with her. I've had a number of readings like that where custody went to the grandmother, and the grandmother raised the child and raised the recipient as their own. And it was feeling like a mother, but it was actually a grandmother. So sometimes when I say I feel like a mother in spirit, and they're like, no, my mom's still alive, I said, would you understand a grandmother in spirit or a mother figure that would have felt like a mom to you in this lifetime? Because sometimes it's hard to discern whether it's like a mother, a stepmother, a mother in law, a grandmother who raised you like a child, right? Those all feel very similar in spirit. So in that way, a really good medium would say, I have a stepmother here. Would you understand that? Right. But sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like she's a mom to you. Would you understand your mom's in spirit? And she would say, no. And I said, okay, this person feels like they would be a mom to you. And so I might even feel like that little removed piece of it, like, oh, she came in after your mom. So would you understand the stepmother in spirit? Yes. Okay. There you go. So it's not fishing, it's trying to understand what we're experiencing because it's energy into words. Like it's not like a textbook that you're reading or they're, whispering in your ear. I mean, sometimes you feel like you're getting the sounds. That's called clairaudient, but it is not that clear and simple sometimes. So we are trying to convey what is coming into the reading. So what I like to say with anyone who's going to a reading is I'd like you always to set an intention before you go to the reading. You're not just receiving random, you're just not open to receiving whatever. You want to receive something that supports your forward momentum. That's a really good intention. I really want to hear from my mom in this reading. But if you're going through something that's really poignant, it might not be your mom. Like I had a reading, a gentleman had a reading with me, and he really wanted to connect with his dad, but he was going through a divorce. His mom and dad never divorced. They were committed to their marriage till the day he took his last breath. So he was feeling really sad. His wife served him with divorce papers, and he was like, "I really wanted to hear from my dad." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I can feel that he is there, but he doesn't have anything to say on this divorce because he would have told you like, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. Like this sucks. This sucks." And what I'm going to say to you is you're holding on to hope when your wife has already moved on, right? She has served you. She is very excited about this divorce. And he's like, "Yes, she is." And I said, "And you are holding on that maybe she will see that you are different. You are going to therapy. You are trying to be everything that you were not before, and you're contorting yourself into something you aren't actually who you are." And that is now you are not being yourself and you're trying to do something to get somebody else. And this is not what you came here to get information from me because I'm here to help you understand that what's coming on the other side is so much better than what you think you have now. I said, I do know you're going to be in another relationship in the future, but first you have to heal this broken heart. That's hard to say. He was not willing to hear me in that moment. I could tell he did not receive what I had to say. It is one of the hardest things, I think, personally, in my own personal development, because I was such a people pleaser that as a medium, I'm here to be an ambassador to the spirit world. I'm here to help your spirit move forward in whatever way that your spirit needs to move forward. That mind of yours can tell you you need something else. When your spirit's like, help me. And your mind's like, no, I need to get back with my ex wife. The ex wife does not want to get back together with you. I can feel it. And the more you live in this hope place, the more you are delaying your full grief recovery from this experience. I said that, because I really have nothing to lose. Like, I mean, he's going to come back to that reading in 2 years time and be like, man, the woman spoke truth, right? If I'm like, hold on to hope and she's going to come back to you, that's a lie. I can't give him that because I know that's what he wants, and it's not truth. It's not. I know, I'm feeling it. I know that she has already moved on. I know that she is not interested in reconciling this, and I know he's pining away for her. So where is there a future in that? So I say things sometimes, I think that that is hard to hear, and that's why I think a lot of times when we come into a reading, people are very nervous or anxious. They think I'm going to say something that's really gonna hurt their heart, but everything is for moving them forward in some way. And I said to him, you will understand that this all had to happen in this way for you to meet the person who really wants to celebrate the qualities of you, who thinks you're an amazing gem. I said, I feel like your wife feels like you're kind of boring. And he's like, she's said that to me. Yeah. So, I mean, and so I'm not saying anything that's not true. And I'm trying to reiterate to him that this is the path forward. This divorce is going to happen. And you can do so with love and consciousness and caring and compassion for yourself, knowing that you're sad because this person didn't choose you. And I did say that in the session. I said, I know you're sad that your person's not choosing you anymore. And the reason you guys got together was perfect. And all that you learned about yourself, and it was also a catalyst in your wife's healing. And now she is ready to move on to the next step of her journey. And unfortunately, that's not with you. And I know that he told a loved one that I was absolute shit medium because I came back to me and I was like, yeah, I get it. I know he wanted to talk to his dad. And his dad came into the reading with somebody else down the road, which was so interesting, but not with him. And I mean, that's it. I couldn't control that. I can't dial a spirit and be like, hey, he wants to talk to his dad. Can get his dad on the line? Like his dad was like, what am I going to say? Right. I'm sorry you're going through this, buddy. Like, I don't, their marriage was solid. If anything, it would highlight where he felt like he was a failure because he couldn't recreate his parents' relationship, that was not his job. His job in this lifetime is to understand what he is a diamond, and he gets to step forward into the world knowing that whoever's going to be with him is going to celebrate him as much as he celebrates them. He deserves someone that was good for him too. So, sometimes things happen in a reading, but it's not always what you're going to receive. So, all that to say is that in a reading, a really good reading is going to meet the need of your soul, not always the way that you think of it in your mind. And a good medium will also encourage you to record the session, whether it be on audio or Zoom, so that you can have a recording for it. Because what you actually are going to get from it, you're going to glean so many nuggets of wisdom and gold after the reading. You'll go back and listen to it again, and you're like, oh my God, I hear that differently. And then even like 6 months down the road, you'll go back to the reading and go, oh my God, I can't believe she said like that actually came to pass. And oh, that's what she meant with that, right? Sometimes it's not the way that our mind thinks. Like I did say one time to a client, I'm feeling like you want to have a child and you've been trying so hard. And she's like, yes. And I said, I feel like you're going down the IVF route. She said, yes. And I said, I would not be my weight as a psychic. I would not be a good psychic if I told you that I feel like you're going to have a baby, because I don't. I feel like your uterus is very like bare, like it doesn't hold babies. And she's like, that's correct. I can't seem to keep the baby. Like we get pregnant and then I have a miscarriage and it just doesn't hold it. And I said, and they can't figure out what that is, right? And she's like, yeah. I said, I feel like you're going to have a baby through surrogate or through adoption, like through someone else's womb. It's not going to be your own womb. And she's like, well, my husband will never go for that. And I said, okay, I think you just got to continue to go down the path that you're going down and hope that I'm a liar. Like I mean, that is very well could be. I could be totally full of poop, like continue going down the path that you're going down and it will take you to where you're needing to be because I know you're going to be a mother. I know you're going to be parents to a beautiful little boy. I feel it. I feel it, but it's just not going to be from your own body. And how you get there is going to be a process, right? So if it's not through your own body, then it's going to be through someone else's body. And so can you be open to that? And she's like, well, with all due respect, I don't believe you. And I said, perfect. Continue on your journey. I really do wish you well. I know there's a little soul waiting to come in for you. And however that soul comes in, I so hope you can come back and go, Sheetal, you're a shit psychic. That would be awesome. And they tried and tried and tried. And then I got a message from someone I know who is their best friend, messaged me 3 years later and said, I just want to let you know she's bringing home her surrogate baby today. It's a little boy. And I was like, thank goodness. Yes. Yes. I'm so happy. They had a baby through surrogate. And I mean, that's a psychic reading, that's not mediumship, but it's hard sometimes, to tell people the truth, right? It was the truth. And I said, don't believe me. Like, please keep going down the path of trying. Eventually, you're going to get to where you need to go. And that's the key. You don't need a reader. You don't need a psychic. You've got all the tools in front of you. People come to see me because everything else seems uncertain. People, they don't know their path forward, or they're scared to trust the nudges within themselves, right? So the role of a medium is a translator of spirit, right? And we are intuitive. We can sense your forward momentum and the things that you are going through and what you're thinking within your auric field. It's all there. I'm connecting to what you've been thinking about. So I think people love to come to like a psychic medium because I'm a neutral third party. I really just want to see you win and be happy and get, the things that you want. I don't have judgment and I'm very neutral on in terms of what's been happening for you. So I can't choose which spirit comes forward or what the need of your soul is. I get to just meet the need of your soul. And sometimes that's through psychic reading, and sometimes that's through mediumship. With that gentleman who was going through divorce, I can't dial a spirit. And again, his dad would have nothing to say because he was married to married to married. I mean, he loved his wife. He was super committed and he learned how to be a good husband from his dad. So now that's not working for him and he's feeling very disillusioned. What could his dad say? I'm sorry you're going through that, buddy. Like, his dad's advice wouldn't be this divorce needs to happen. Trust that your path is going to lead you to where you go because that's not who his dad was. So obviously his dad wouldn't come forward in the reading. I did try to explain that to him, but he did not want to hear that. So what to expect as a client when you're coming in. Okay. So as a client, like I said, setting an intention when you go into a reading and then recording the session and noticing what the spirit, the person is saying. So being open to receiving what they're saying and not saying a whole lot. As a medium, I really like it when people are like, yes, no. And then as we go through the sessions, because I'm a grief counselor, I then also like to support you in ways that you really need the support. So wherever that grief is coming up for you. But the beginning, half of the session at least should be yes, no answers only, or I don't know, or that doesn't make sense to me. That's it. You do not feed the medium because any mediums, and this is a red flag, fishing for information, right? So, what did you come here to see me for today? Do you have any questions that you'd like me to answer? Is there a loved one that you want to hear from today? My question as a recipient would be like, you tell me. I literally had a reading with a lady who was a psychic medium, and she started to fish for all these answers. And I said, "Oh, I thought you were the psychic. Like, I thought you were to lead the session and tell me what I needed." And she's like, "You think this is a parlor trick?" And I said, "No, I'm actually a psychic medium too, right? I'm trusting your downloads for me." And she's like, "This is not how I work. This is not some trick." And I was like, "Wow, you have a lot of trauma around your gifts." She's like, "I have credentials." I was like, "Okay." And then she hung up on me. Yeah, it was really interesting, how she was fishing for information from me, and I was like, "Nah, girl, like, you literally call yourself a psychic medium. I don't know. I'm not telling you nothing. I will say yes or no because I'm interested, genuinely interested into what you become aware in my auric field that is my soul's greatest need. Sometimes it's hard to hear through this super brilliant brain, right?" So, red flag, medium that asks too many questions, medium that fishes too much answers, too many questions for answers, a medium who is vague, right? I have a mother figure stepping forward. Who's the mother energy on the other side? There's a very famous psychic that does that. And she actually said it in her spiel the other day. I was listening to it because I do think she's a very good medium, but she leaves a lot up to the client to read for you. And the way that I was trained in evidential mediumship is that I'm the reader. I'm the person that's telling you I have a mother figure stepping forward. Yeah. What if I have like five mother figures on the other side? What, like, I'm supposed to discern who you're talking to? Like, you're the person talking to the person. So in that when someone says, I have a mother figure stepping forward, I'm like, I don't understand. I have several, no, I have two grandmothers on the other side. So, which one is it? Like, I don't know. You tell me. Like, which one? They're very different people. Like, if you read for me, you'll know that my grandmothers are very different from each other. So, it's not my job to tell you who you're feeling, right? And that vagueness can really bring in, you participating. And you're going, "Oh, is that my grandmother?" She's like, "Yes, a grandmother." Hmm. And I feel like this grandmother, I actually saw this in a reading once. I feel like your grandmother really loved you and she used to bake with you and she'd make you stuff when you came over. And I said, I don't understand any grandmother who didn't do that. But I don't know of any grandmother that didn't do that. So, yes, yes, for every grandmother in the world, that's a yes. It's really hard to read for another psychic medium because you have to be really good. Otherwise, I'm like, yeah, that's too wishy-washy for me. I've watched so many YouTube videos, so many mediums where it's just so vague. So, and a medium cannot promise an outcome as well. So be really careful of like, this is going to happen. So I had a reading for a lady who it came out in her cards that she was going to be let go from her job. And it was very clear. And I got the, oh, this is on route for her. And so I said, if this is true, because I feel like you're gonna be let go. She said, "No, I've been there for 8 years. I'm good." I said, "No, you're going to be let go. So okay, if I'm wrong with this, then fine. But here's some flags that are leading to this outcome. You've got a boss change." She's like, "Yeah, how did you know?" And I said, "They clawed back money from your commission structure." "Yes, that's true." "Wow, how did you know that?" Said, "Your accounts changed over." She's like, "Yes," because I knew she was a sales rep. And then I also feel like the people who were the head of those accounts that were really like liked you and you had a great rapport, they left. New people came in that didn't like you so much. And she's like, "Oh my God." It's like, I am a psychic. But those are all flags that you are moving in the direction of being released from your job. Like, it's getting worse and worse and worse. The universe is like, how bad are you going to let it get before you take the hint, lady? Like, get a new job, go out there. It's okay. And I said, "Okay, so let's pretend like I'm wrong. Okay. I'm saying to you, I feel this is so inevitable. What I can't tell you is the time frame. I feel like it's going to happen in the next 6 months. Okay. Because of the way it came out in the cards. And you can friend headhunters on LinkedIn. You can update your resume on LinkedIn and your personal resume, you can get 3 references of people that you know will speak well for you. And then you can start looking at jobs that would actually make you happy, because this job isn't making you happy anymore. I know that. And you have not been working in your purpose. You have been working for a paycheck. That's different. And you're not actually realizing your purpose in any other sphere of your life. And she's like, "Sheetal, I just know." I was like, "Well, why even pay me then? Like, why come? Don't come next time." She never did come back. Bless. And sure enough, 6 months later, she was released from her job, and she was bitter, bitter, and stayed unemployed for 9 months, which was unfortunate. So she got hired again, but outside the industry in which she was in. But there was a lot of grief there, I think, around that. I don't know why. I mean, I told her I tried to protect her with that, and I said, if I'm wrong, fine. You've got a great resume and updated LinkedIn handle, and if I'm right, then you're protected and you're ready to go into another job right away. So she wasn't really willing to hear, but I couldn't promise an outcome. And there's no certainty. As much as you don't actually know. So being really aware of that when you see a psychic medium. I have a client who saw a psychic, and she actually saw an astrologer, and the astrologer said that there was these 3 dates in her astrology that she was going to have bad things happen to her, quote unquote. And so she messaged me right away, and she's like, I got this reading. And I said, who's the astrologer? Like, okay, so first of all, consider the source, number one. And then, okay, what are the dates? And she gave me her birth information. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I looked up the 3 dates in her astrology, and I was like, there's nothing that correlates. Like, nothing was like super, anyways, triggery. And she's like, I'm really scared. And I said, if this was a stranger off the street that said, watch out for these 3 dates, you're going to die, would you be like, okay, oh my God, I need to curl up in a ball and like hide myself away from the world? No, consider the source, right? So no one can predict your last day on earth. And I mean, that's a lot of power, right? You have free will. You have free will to choose. So even with that lady who I said you're going to be let go from your job in the next 6 months, if she had decided to go and look for a job and find an amazing job and leave her job, then she would have never been let go from her job, because she would have terminated the job herself, right? So that's actually not like a truth from me, because she took the bull by the horns and decided to find a job that was more aligned for her. So it's the same thing here with this client of mine. I was like, no, none of these things are true. And sure enough, the first date came along and went, and it was fine. Nothing happened. Then the second date, she's like, oh my God, the next date's tomorrow. And I was like, good. Celebrate. Go, surround yourself in white light, have a you day, and just enjoy the day. Sure enough, nothing else happened. And then on the third day, she decided to go traveling on a date. I was like, wow, girl, like I would like be in a safe space, like just to make sure everything was fine. She had a blast being out and about on that last day. It was so good for her. What a sham of an astrologer that was, to say that, to say these are going to be bad days. I never say that. There are days that are going to be more challenging. Yes, that's there, right? But you can't say, like, what? That these are bad days. What is a bad day? A bad day is a mindset bad day. Like, you can make any bad day a good day just by thinking about the gratitude in that, or the opportunity that came from that situation. And you know what? Yeah, we have bad days too. Let's be honest. But does astrology definitively show you days that are going to be absolute garbage? No, no. Because I've had days that the astrology say this is going to be a really crazy, crappy day, and it was not so bad. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, right? You have free will. Mediums don't always know all the things. So fear-based language, another red flag. Charging extra to remove curses. Oof, that's a red flag. Do not fall for that. Potions and all this stuff too. Nope. Vague fishing, red flag too. Ethical. So being ethical in terms of the way that they are approaching things, and being a neutral source, that's also really important. If you had a terminated pregnancy and the medium is not being kind about that, person shouldn't be a medium. Like, it's a very healing, very vulnerable space to be with people, and just being discerning. So really asking for referrals. I get referred out a lot, And I'm not the cheapest medium in the world, and that's fine. And it's not easy to get into my schedule, and that's fine. The people who find their way into my schedule, I know there's something that I'm supposed to help them with, and it makes me so excited for that. So if you're interested in having a reading, and the other thing is if you see my calendar's full, DM me, email me. I'll have spots available. I hold them back for people who actually want them. So there's that. And when you are having, experiences with mediums, I've had bad days as a medium. Okay. So I really want you to not hear or see that this is all perfection. I would say I'm a pretty good medium, really good psychic, but I've had bad days. I think it was four. I used to count them before COVID. I had four readings where it just didn't work. It was like a no, 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 no. I just could not get it to work for that time. And I offered them a full refund or an opportunity to reschedule to another day because for whatever reason that day it just didn't work out. And why it wouldn't work out is one, something's wrong with me, right? Something happened to me. So my mind's not in the right place. I might be struggling in something else in life, which that wasn't the case for those ones. The other thing it might not work, why it might not work, is that you want it so bad that I just become aware of the need of you wanting it so bad. But to get underneath that of what is the thing that you want, of what is actually happening in your life, that's hard. That's hard to discern. So all four of them chose the reschedule of the appointment, and each one of them got amazing readings on the second on the second time around. So sometimes that happens, right? And I think as a psychic medium, as a reader, once I realized that, I was so free. I was so free. I had this feeling of like having to perform and give you what you needed. And now I'm like, if it doesn't work, whatever. I'll refund you the money or we can reschedule to another day. And if it doesn't work on that day, I'll 100% refund you your money. I'm not beholden to being amazing. I'm here to be of service to spirit and in whatever way that happens. And if it's not today, okay, all right. It doesn't mean anything about me. It's just sometimes you have bad days and that's how it goes. So if you have a bad day with a psychic and you just have this feeling they're still a good person and you're really intrigued, you want to keep going, then choose the reschedule day. Again, a good psychic medium will offer you a refund in that instance. They won't just try to hold on to your money. So if you're disappointed in the reading, well, that's on you. That's my take on it. I gave you all the things like that gentleman that was disappointed that I didn't bring through his dad. You can be disappointed all you want. The fact of the matter is you needed to hear from me in that moment to understand that this is truly the path forward for you. And what's your dad going to say about that? Right? I told him all of that too. So, it is what it is. The intelligence of the spirit world is so profound. I want to leave you with this, that spirit is so wise and loving, and it's not scary or chaotic. They'll never bring anything to you that you are not willing or ready to acknowledge. And if you've had somebody in spirit that's done something really hard and terrible to you, there is a possibility they can come in, but you can actually say, I'm not willing and I do not want to talk to you. I do not want to have that experience. So I've had people where they're molesters in spirit and they're like, I don't want to talk to them. Like, don't worry, that's not who I feel is here. So it's, if you're not ready to talk to that person, they likely won't come through. Okay. And readings bring a lot of healing and closure and even purpose. I had a reading this week with a amazing lady who was just open to receiving a reading, and she had an aunt come in for her. So and it was interesting because there was a theme of daughter in the whole reading, and the aunt wanted to talk about her daughter, so it would have been my client's cousin. And this the the reason why she was coming in was because the recipient's cousin really needed her, really needed to talk to her. She was going through a really tough time. She really needed her mom. And after the passing, there was a lot of angst in the family. And the spirit person was like, I see the angst and I am so disappointed in the other family members because they didn't step up and they actually made life really, really hard for the cousin. And this is also to say that everything isn't always love and light on the other side, right? Not everything is forgiven and everything is all good. It's no, we take our personality with us on to the other side. So if there are people in this world that are now acting very badly, that are sabotaging, that are falling down holes of despair and greed, there is going to be acknowledgement of that in dreams, in mediumship, to say that I see that and I am so disappointed in them. And that's what the spirit person said. I'm so disappointed that this is happening for you, for their daughter. And in that, then there was a big message of, can you please contact my daughter and just check in on her? And so my client was like, yes, I can do that. I only normally speak to her once a year, but I'm definitely going to reach out now. And then on the back of that came a grandmother, and a grandmother wanted to talk about being the host and talking about the cookies that she puts out. She always had cookies to put out, and my client was so excited of hearing about her. And then the grandmother wanted to talk about the china and said that the china actually went to the china had a gold rim around it. And my client could not remember that. She's like, I know she had china because I feel like she had a china for everybody. And then she had a special china. So there was actually three sets. It was like an everyday coffee and tea set. Then there was like the china when people came over. And then there was a like china for the Pope. And I said that golden rim china was the Pope china. And she said, I can't remember if there was a gold rim on it, but she did have a specialty china that sat in the china cabinet, and we didn't get to touch that. And she said, I think my cousin actually got that. So again, if I was a really good psychic medium, I'd have been like, and your cousin got that china. Would you understand that? And she would have said yes. So I missed that opportunity. But she's like, I think my cousin got the china. And I was like, okay, so when you talk to your cousin, ask about the golden rim. So she reached out to her cousin after the session, and she sent me a picture of the china, and it had a golden etched rim around it. Wild, wild, because that is not reading my client, right? That's the spirit person coming forward. So my client didn't know the answer to that. I obviously don't know what china her grandmother had. Her cousin has the china, and the cousin sent a picture of the golden rim china. So cool. It's so wild. Like, it really blows my own mind. And it turns out that the cousin is going through a tough time, and now they've reconnected and they're both on their spiritual journeys, and they're going to be so much closer than they ever were before, because the spirit person came in and nudged her to just contact her. It's so wild, the intelligence of the spirit world. I don't know any of this stuff, right? I don't know her cousin, I don't know her grandmother, I didn't know any of this dynamic in life, but this was so poignant. And it came back. She gave me so much feedback after this session, which I don't ask for feedback. I don't need to know. I've channeled throughout it. I don't remember things. But as sometimes people will send me the feedback on things, and I just like, I'm always in awe that I'm talking to dead people. Like, this, what is this life? What is this ability? Like, spirit's ability to know what we need is always there. They're always supporting us. They're coming in, they're sending you signs and symbols. They're in the sunsets, they're in the rainbows, they're in the feathers in the ground, they're in the dimes that you find. Trust that when you feel them around you, when you feel a hug, when you need your mom's hug the most, or you're missing your dad and you smell his cologne, that they are there with you. Let this be proof. Let me please trust my words. And if you don't trust me, then come have a reading and I'll show you. And know that you are so loved, that you are so supported, that your loved ones haven't just left and went on to another life. That's not what you would do. You would want to be here to support your loved ones. If you were to take your last breath today, you would want to come in and make sure that your kids, that your family members, that your friends are supported and loved, and you would try to send them notes and little synchronicities and butterflies and dragonflies to let them know that you were at peace, that everything was okay, that you made it to the other side and everything is beautiful here and glorious. Know that your loved ones are safe. They're at peace. No matter how they died, they were received with love on the other side, and they are always there supporting you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Story of Spirit podcast. I hope you have found inspiration, support, and practical insights to help you align with your soul-led purpose and live a life that sets your soul on fire. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us to reach more listeners and continues to provide valuable content. I sincerely appreciate every share, and I know it is how most people find me. It is because caring people like you have shared me with them at the right and perfect time. For more resources, insights, and to connect with our community, please visit us at www.sheetalstory.com and follow us on Instagram at sheetalstory. Remember, your journey to a more aligned and vibrant life is just the beginning, and I am here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and keep shining your beautiful light. This is Sheetal Story, signing off from the Story of Spirit podcast. Here's the legalese that's required by our lawyers. This podcast and the YouTube channel represents the opinions of Sheetal Story and her guests to the show. The content should not be taken as medical, psychological, or financial advice. This series is informational and entertainment purposes only. Because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional, your mental health dream team, your financial advisor, or anyone else that's an expert in the field in where you are thinking of making big choices in your life.